Hello everyone, and welcome to our English class. My name is Laura Tudose. I'm an English teacher at Miguel de Cervantes High School in Bucharest. Today we are going to celebrate Shakespeare, as April is the month to do so, and you will later see why. We're going to find out more about Shakespeare, Shakespeare's life and writings, and more about the language this great writer used. Before starting, I want to break the ice by asking you to say what is the first word that pops into your head when you hear Romeo. Perhaps it's Juliet. To be or not to be, I would say. Star-crossed lovers. For goodness sake. Knock, knock. Who's there? The famous joke. And break the ice. Yeah, that's right. Break the ice is a phrase coined by Shakespeare in one of his plays, and we teachers and students alike are much in debt, as we do love warm-up activities at school. As you can see, all these phrases are related to Shakespeare, but we'll focus on language later on. Now, let's see what are the things that you know or didn't know or don't know about Shakespeare. So we are going to watch a short video and find out more.
The name William Shakespeare is synonymous with great literature, but it also belonged to a person who had a life outside his famous works. Did Shakespeare have a family? In 1582, Shakespeare was married to Anne Hathaway. Not that one. The daughter of a local landowner who was 8 years senior to the 18-year-old bard. They were married just 6 months before the birth of their first child, Susanna. This scandalous timing, among other evidence, has suggested to some historians that their marriage was provoked by the pregnancy. Not a passion fit for Shakespeare's own work. Nevertheless, the couple had 2 more children, twins Hamnet and Judith. Sadly, Hamnet died at the age of 11 in 1596. Whether this tragedy had an impact on Shakespeare's most famous tragic work, Hamlet, has been a matter of much debate. Shakespeare is most famous for his work as a playwright, having crafted more timeless classics than we have time to name drop in this video. But he also wrote 3 whole plays about Henry VI that you probably weren't assigned in high school. How many plays did he write in all? Believe it or not, historians aren't totally sure how many plays Shakespeare wrote. Scholarly consensus usually attributes 37 plays to him, but he's believed to have worked on more with other writers, and some of his work may be lost to history. Though Shakespeare is best known as a playwright, he wrote even more poems. In fact, some of his most famous turns of phrase come from his sonnets. Just how many sonnets did he write? In fact, Shakespeare wrote dozens of them, 154 in all. Some of us would have quit after nailing it with Sonnet 18, which begins, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" But Shakespeare kept writing. By Sonnet 130, he decided, "My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun." So maybe poetry had lost a little of its romance for him by then. Though Shakespeare has been called the immortal bard, the man himself was as mortal as any other. But what grim fate deprived the world of such a talent? How did Shakespeare die? That answer, unfortunately, is a mystery. The only hint we have is a journal entry written by the vicar of a local church. He claimed that Shakespeare, Drayton, and Ben Jonson had a merry meeting, and it seems drank too hard, for Shakespeare died of a fever there contracted. Some scholars have suggested this is evidence Shakespeare died of typhus. But as the journal entry was written some 50 years later, and no one has been able to verify it, we may never know the truth.
Hope you enjoyed this video. You can find on Britannica website a lovely tool for you to find out more about the British. Okay, let's see if you paid attention. See whether these sentences are true or false. Of course, you can go back 2 minutes or so, watch the video again if you're not that sure. If you are, let's proceed. Shakespeare's wife was 8 years older than him. This is true. The keywords are 8 years senior. Shakespeare's marriage supposedly influenced the play Hamlet. And this is false. It was his son's death which might have influenced Shakespeare in writing Hamlet. Students often study Henry VI trilogy in high school. This is false. Usually students are not assigned these plays in high school. Most of his famous expressions are found in sonnets. This is true. On the video, the voice said turn of phrases, which mean expressions, words. And Shakespeare may have passed away due to alcohol abuse. This is false. The theory, one of the theories says that he might have contracted fever or typhus. Great. Now, why do people bother to read and study Shakespeare after, 404 years since he passed away? Some would say that the subjects he tackles in his plays are relevant even today. Actually, topics like morality, friendship, war, or love, we may say that these topics transcend time and even language. One other reason why people like Shakespeare is that apparently, according to Wikipedia, which quotes the Guinness Book of Records, there are more than 410 film and TV versions of William Shakespeare's plays, making Shakespeare the most filmed author ever in any language. How about that? I have chosen only a few film posters. One is 10 Things I Hate About You, which is a remaking of The Taming of the Shrew. Very nice. I encourage you to see it if you haven't. The second film poster is Great Much Ado About Nothing, a great film featuring great actors. I can see Emma Thompson, Michael Keaton, Keanu Reeves, and my favorite, Denzel Washington. Actually, all the great actors wanted or want to play Shakespeare is like the crown jewel of their career. Another poster I have chosen is, of course, Romeo and Juliet version of 1996 featuring Leonardo DiCaprio. Probably have already seen it. And West Side Story, which is going to be released this year. It's a remaking of a famous musical in the 1960s based on the same play, Romeo and Juliet. And this new release is directed by Steven Spielberg. I think in December 2020 will be in our cinema houses in Bucharest, so I can hardly wait to see it. However, you might be wondering why his plays have been made and remade so many times. The answer is that it is because of his words. Well, you might have attempted to read some original text and then might have given up shortly after because of such words like thine art, which we no longer use today. But it's the fact that Shakespeare coined over 1,700 words in the English language. According to Oxford English Dictionary, he was the first to record them. So he may not have invented everything, but at least he was the person to promote them in writing. Common words like accommodation, generous, lonely, suspicious, and scholars agree on the fact that he contributed the most to the English language as we have it today. Remember the phrases I have highlighted earlier? Break the ice is a line from The Taming of the Shrew. Knock, knock, who's there? In Macbeth, and for goodness sake, in Henry VIII. Now I have also prepared 7 phrases for you to analyze. And the first one is Heart of Gold, which appears in Henry V. The story goes that great King Henry, before the Battle of Agincourt, disguised himself as a simple soldier and asked one of his soldiers what he thought of the king. Fortunately, Pistol, the soldier, said that the king was a bowcock and a heart of gold, lad of life, a nymph of fame, which means a good, kind, generous person. Brave New World. You might know it as the title of a great dystopian novel called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, or as the title of a famous rock album released by Iron Maiden in 2000. Actually, these phrases, these words were spoken by Miranda, who is a character in The Tempest, a young girl who has grown up on an isolated desert island, having known only her father and his deformed slave Caliban. And when Miranda meets men from the outside world, she says, "Oh, brave new world that has such people in it." Now, Shakespeare uses this phrase ironically, as the audience perceive Miranda as being, pure, innocent, but very naive, as people turn out to be not that good. And that's why the meaning today is rather, the context in which we use it is rather negative, because it means a field or an aspect of life which seems new and wonderful, but it is often intimidating for the people who experienced it. And this is the great example for what we experience these days. This is the brave new world of remote work. I'm so excited about it. Another phrase, wild goose chase. Now, this is a phrase spoken by Mercutio, Romeo's friend in Romeo and Juliet. And he says, "Nay, if our wits run the wild goose chase, I am done." And he means that their joking is nonsense. It's a kind of going after nothing. So the meaning of this phrase is a prolonged or chaotic search for something that is difficult to find. Mind you, often because it does not exist. So an example like this one from the Free Dictionary: "Those jerks send me on a wild goose chase to find a copy of a book that hasn't been released yet." You would use this phrase in a negative context when you are mad, as the character here in this meme. The be-all and end-all. This phrase seems to originate in Macbeth. He said to himself before the murder that, but this blow might be the be-all and the end-all, meaning that it was the most important thing for him. He would gladly sell his soul and the afterlife in order to achieve it. The meaning is often used in the negative, because the most important event or thing we are thinking of is not the one it should. We have here a quote from Forbes: "The be-all and end-all of life should not be to get rich, but to enrich the world." Keep that in mind. The next phrase is an idiom: "All that glitters is not gold." It is said in Merchant of Venice by Prince of Morocco, reading from a scroll, "All that glitters is not gold. Often have you heard that told." In the play, it is the idea that love is not a matter of superficial, shiny object, but is full of responsibility and obligation. As you can infer from the picture, the meaning today is that people and things are often different from how they appear, right? Moving on to the green-eyed monster. Shakespeare used this idea of a green-eyed monster to suggest jealousy in Othello, but he also used it in The Merchant of Venice as well. Iago says to Othello, ironically, "Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on." And Portia, the female character in The Merchant of Venice, relates the green-eyed monster to jealousy, to envy, and shuddering fear and green-eyed jealousy, she says. Of course, the meaning is still used today, and it's jealousy. I have an example from the Free Dictionary. Finally, he suffered from professional jealousy, although, at least in public, he kept the green-eyed monster at bay most of the time. Finally, one of my favorites, brevity is the soul of wit. It's one of the Shakespeare quotes which is most used. It is spoken by Polonius in Act 2, Scene 2, to Hamlet. The fact that Polonius tells Hamlet that brevity is the soul of wit is perceived as ironic, as the audience knows that Polonius is not brief, so that he is perceived as being not very smart, not being intelligent. And also, if something can be spoken in 30 seconds, Polonius will speak in 5 minutes. The meaning is that one can say a lot more by using the minimum of language to convey something. Being brief is the essence of intelligence. Now, let's practice a little bit the phrases we have just analyzed. Your first task will be to identify Romanian phrases for the phrases we have just seen. So a good dictionary, if you have one, or just browse the internet. For the first one, heart of gold. This is quite easy because we do have this expression in Romanian, inimă de aur, but also pâinea lui Dumnezeu, ca pâinea caldă, bun ca pâinea caldă. So yeah, we use it a lot as well, the idea. Brave New World, this is the phrase we have translated mot à mot, as we say, so word by word, minunata lume nouă. A wild goose chase. Well, I haven't found an equivalent of it. Maybe you will. Pierdere de vreme could be the meaning. And a umbla după cai vers pe pereți, in some context, that could render the same idea as in English. It is not the be-all and end-all. We would often say it. Nu e un capăt de țară, nu e sfârșitul lumii. All that glitters is not gold. We have a Romanian saying, nu tot ce zboară se mănâncă, and I'm pretty sure you can find more idioms on the subject. The green-eyed monster, monstru cu ochii verzi, monstrul geloziei. These are two of the phrases I have found. Brevity is the soul of wit. I have found Concizia este sufletul spiritului, but also vorba multă, sărăcia omului, which I really like. So without any further ado, let's go to the second task. It's a wild goose quiz. You have to complete the gaps with one of the phrases. Your career isn't. There are other important things in life, like family. The answer is your career isn't the be-all and end-all. Marek he is always helping people, even though he has his own worries. And the key, a heart of gold, of course. Marek has a heart of gold. My wife sent me to buy fresh spices, but the supermarket didn't sell any of them. What a waste of time. On a wild goose chase. My wife sent me on a wild goose chase. This is very common. Dale took 10 minutes to tell that joke. He obviously doesn't know that. Brevity is the soul of wit. Some people think that we live in, thanks to so many technological advancements, but I am skeptical. Of course, it's a brave new world. My daughter often succumbs to when she sees the toys that her friends have. The green-eyed monster. Great. I don't know if that necklace from the flea market will have the resale value you are anticipating. You know? And of course, we have the famous idiom, all that glitters is not gold. Now, back to you. I would like you to search your favorite Shakespeare phrase. You can browse a lot of websites, or you can use the one that I have posted here. It's very nice. And you can do a lot of things with the phrases after you decide which one or which ones you like best. You can create a story, you can create a comic book or a meme, because they are so popular nowadays. I found this one, which I really like. And find the words he's looking for, so he invents them. All right, I will take Shakespeare's advice, brevity is the soul of wit, and stop here. Only one thing to add. Remember that it's likely that whenever you speak English, you may be quoting Shakespeare. Farewell.